Good day everyone, I'm Georgie Candas and I will be discussing the cultural traits. First, let us define what is cultural traits. It is a characteristic of human actions that acquired people socially and transmitted via various modes of communication. Cultural traits are things that allow for a part of one culture to be transmitted to another. If they combine with other cultural traits, they may change. These are the examples of cultural traits. First is hospitable, friendly and welcoming to strangers and guests. Next is strong work ethic, upholding the values and goals of the company by performing your job to the best of your ability. Next is love and caring. Caring people are polite, considerate, generous, affectionate, patient, understanding, loving, and forgiving. Those are the examples of culture traits of Filipinos. Let us proceed to cultural complex. Cultural complex is a distinctive pattern of activities, beliefs, rites, and traditions associated with one central feature of life in a particular culture. An example is the clusters of activities, ceremonies, songs, and stories associated with the hunting and use of the buffalo by Native American peoples. These are the examples of cultural complex. First is religious complex. It is a theory which posits the religion intersects with inequality, especially class, race, and ethnicity and gender. Next is business behavior complex. It is a complex business model addresses a broader, more complex values proposition through one or more products or services or a combination of it. That's all for today. Thank you.
So good day everyone, I'm Joyce Hernandez and I'm going to discuss the cultural patterns. So what is the cultural patterns? Cultural patterns are shared of beliefs, values, norms, and social practices that are stable over time and lead to roughly similar behaviors across similar situations. So there are four components of cultural patterns: the beliefs, values, norms, and social practices. So the belief is an idea that people assume to be true about the world. Beliefs therefore are a set of learned interpretations that form the basis for cultural members to decide what is and what is not logical and correct. Next is values. Values involve what a culture regards as good or bad, right or wrong, fair or unfair, just or unjust, beautiful or ugly, clean or dirty, kind or cruel, because values are desired characteristics or goals of a culture. So a culture values do not necessarily describe its actual behaviors and characteristics. So however, values are often offered as the explanation for the way in which people communicate. The Filipino culture and values are just among the good things that are appreciated by many people across the world. In the Philippines, family is valued so much. Children live with their parents until they are married. So in the Filipino family culture is something that many people applaud because locals value family time so much. Some other noteworthy and great Filipino values are before the Filipino man used to serenade a woman he was courting. Next is Filipinos call their older siblings ate for older sisters and kuya for older brothers to show respect. Then pagmamano or kissing the elders on the forehead. Next is norms. Norms are socially shared expectations of appropriate behaviors. When person behaviors violates the culture norms, social sanctions are usually imposed. Like values, norms can vary within a culture in terms of their importance and intensity. Unlike values, however, norms can change over a period of time, whereas beliefs and values tend to be much more enduring. So there are a couple types of norms, which is called folkways and mores. Folkways are the norms related to everyday life, like for example, eating with silverware, getting up in the morning, and going to work or school. Next is the mores, which are behaviors that are right or wrong, like for example, don't kill people and don't steal. Some norms are explicitly taught, others are tacit. Those are picked up through observations. So the last component is social practices. Social practices are the predictable behavior patterns that members of a culture typically follow. Thus, social practices are the outward manifestations of beliefs, values, and norms. This way, people are not doing whatever they want whenever they want to meet their needs. In our culture, we treasure independence, but that independence must be exercised within the constructed social institutions. That's not to say that there aren't people who go to outside of these social constraints. That is actually important behavior in an evolutionary sense as it provides variations of behaviors. And it is those behaviors where social change is instigated. The Kluckhohn and Strotbeck. Kluckhohn and Strotbeck value orientations theory represents the earliest effort to develop a cross-cultural theory of values. According to Kluckhohn and Strotbeck in 1961, every culture faces the same basic survival needs and must answer the same universal questions. It is out of this need that the culture values arise. The basic questions faced by people everywhere fall into five categories and reflect concerns about the human nature, the relationship between you and human beings and the natural world, the time, the human activity, and the social relations. Kluckhohn and Strotbeck hypothesized three possible responses or orientations to each of the concerns. Kluckhohn and Strotbeck's view of cultural patterns contains five major elements, addresses the manner in which a culture orients itself. So the first one is activity orientation. It defines how people of a culture view human actions and the expressions of self through activities. This orientation provides answer to questions such as the following. For example, it is important to be engaged in activities in order to be a good member of one's culture. Can and should people change the circumstances of their lives? Is work different from play? Which is more important, work or play? So next is the social relation orientation. It describes how people in a culture organize them and relate to one another. This orientation provides answer to questions such as, to what extent are some people in the culture considered better or superior to others? Are formal ritualized interactions sequences expected? Can social superiority be obtained through birth, age, good deeds, or marital achievement and success? In what ways does the culture's language require people to make social distinctions? So next is social orientations. It describes how people identities are formed, whether the culture view the self as changeable, or what motivates individual actions and the kinds of people who are valued and respected. So a culture's self-orientation provides answer to a question such as, do people believe they have their own unique identities that separate them from others? Does the self reside in the individual or in the groups in which the individual belongs? What responsibilities does the individual have to others? What motivates people to behave as they do? So next, the cultural patterns also tell people how to locate themselves in relation to the spiritual world, nature, and other living things. A word orientation provides answer to this question, such as, are human beings intrinsically good or evil? Are humans different from other animals and plants? Are people in control, subjugated by, or living in harmony with the forces of nature? Do spirits of the dead inhabit and affect the human world? So the final aspect of cultural patterns concern how people conceptualize time or time orientations. It provides answer to questions such as, how should time be valued and understood? It is a scarce resource or it is unlimited. It is a desirable phase of life, fast or slow. It is time linear or cyclical. So now let's move on to cultural lag. The term cultural lag refers to the notion that the culture takes time to catch up with technological innovations and that social problems and conflicts are caused by this lag. Cultural lag is not only a concept as it also relates to a theory and explanations in sociology. Cultural lag helps to identify and explain social problems and to predict future problems. So the term was coined by the sociologist William F. Ogburn in his 1922 work Social Change with Respect to Culture and Original Nature. According to Ogburn, cultural lag is a common societal phenomenon due to the tendency of material culture to evolve and change rapidly while non-material culture tends to resist change and remain fixed for a far longer period of time. His theory of cultural lag suggests that a period of adjustment occurs when the non-material culture is struggling to adapt new material conditions. So, Ogburn's theory of cultural lag. Sociologist William F. Ogburn noticed that the material culture tends to develop and advance at a faster rate than non-material culture. Material culture is the physical and tangible aspects of culture, including technology, building, and tools, while non-material culture is the aspect of culture that isn't physical nor it is tangible. Non-material culture includes cultural values, morals, and religion. Due to the opposing nature of these two aspects of culture, adaptations of new technology becomes rather difficult, as explained by James Woodward. When material conditions change, changes are felt in the non-material culture as well. But these changes in the non-material culture do not match exactly with the change in the material culture. This delay is the cultural lag. Cultural lag creates problems for a society in different ways. Uh, it is seen as a critical ethical issue because failure to develop broad social consensus on appropriate uses of modern technology and may lead to breakdowns in social solidarity and the rise of social conflicts. So the issue of cultural lag tends to permeate any discussion in which the implementations of some new technology can become controversial for society at large. Next is cultural lag and genetic engineering. Recent technological developments have led to several advancements in the field of genetic engineering. So, genetic engineering involves altering the DNA or genetic material of a cellular organism in order to change or add new traits. For example, expectant parents can use genetic engineering to select their unborn child's eye color or sex. However, many people view this type of genetic engineering as unethical and believe it could lead to unintended social consequences. This is an example of cultural lag. And according to Ogburn's theory, cultural lag can cause issues within the culture. For example, advancement in genetic engineering has led to several moral and ethical issues. Some of the issues are how do we determine the ethical limits of genetic engineering? What are the long-term and short-term side effects of the altering genetic material? What are the potential impacts of pre-selection babies' traits on the human race? So a good example of cultural lag is um, gaining the ability to modify genetic patterns in humans before understanding the possible social consequences of doing so. A slowing in a rate of invention in the computer industry. Older people trying to make younger people respect traditions. So these are the key points to remember in cultural lag. Cultural lag is not only a concept, as it also relates to a theory and explanations in sociology. It helps identify and explain social problems and also predict future problems. According to Ogburn, cultural lag is a common societal phenomenon due to the tendency of material culture to evolve and change rapidly and voluminously, while non-material culture tends to resist change and remain fixed for a far longer period of time. Due to the opposing nature of these two aspects of culture, adaptations of new technology becomes rather difficult. So that's all. Thank you.
Good day everyone, I am Marisa Sibel Rosso and I am about to discuss cultural diversity. Culture is that which shapes us. It shapes our identity and influences our behavior. Culture is our way of being. More specifically, it refers to the shared language, beliefs, norms, behaviors, and material objects that are passed on from one generation to the next. What does it mean to be culturally diverse? The term culturally diverse is often used interchangeably. with the concept of multiculturalism. Multiculturalism is defined as a system of beliefs and behaviors that recognizes and respects the presence of all diverse groups in an organization or society, acknowledges and values their sociocultural differences, and encourages and enables their contingent contribution within an inclusive cultural context, which empowers all within the organization or society. Sociologist Dr. Caleb Rosado, who specializes in diversity and multiculturalism, described 7 important actions involved in the definition of multiculturalism. First is recognition. Recognition of the abandonment diversity of cultures. Second, respect. Respect for the differences. Third, acknowledging the validity of different cultural expressions and contributions. Fourth, valuing what other cultures offer. Fifth, encouraging the contribution of diverse groups. Sixth, empowering people to strengthen themselves and others to achieve their maximum potential by being critical of their own biases. And lastly, celebrating rather than just tolerating the differences in order to bring about unity through diversity. Cultural diversity is a good thing. Cultural diversity is important because our country, workplaces, and schools increasingly consist of various cultural, racial, and ethnic groups. We can learn from one another, but first, we must have a level of understanding about each other in order to facilitate collaboration and cooperation. Learning about other cultures within the world in which we live and help us dispel negative stereotypes and personal biases about different groups. In addition, cultural diversity helps us recognize and respect ways of being that are not necessarily our own, so that as we interact with others, we can build bridges to trust, respect, and understanding across cultures. Furthermore, this diversity makes our country a more interesting place to live, as people from diverse cultures contribute language skills, new ways of thinking, new knowledge, and different experiences. Cultural diversity supports the idea that every person can make a unique and positive contribution to the larger society. Because of their differences, imagine a place where diversity is recognized and respected. Various cultural ideas are acknowledged and valued. Contributions from all groups are encouraged. People are empowered to achieve their full potentials and differences are celebrated.
Good morning, ma'am. Good morning, classmates. My report is about the history of Universidad de Manila. Universidad de Manila is a well-known school here in the center of NCR, specifically here in Manila. Universidad de Manila is also referred to by its acronym UDM. It is a public co-educational, city government funded higher education institution in Manila, Philippines. This means it is government funded, it is a public school, and it's free for all. It's free for the citizens of Manila. UDM offers both academic and techno-vocational courses and programs. The school offers wide variation of colleges, graduate programs, and technical vocational education and training. In colleges, they have arts and sciences, business accountancy and economics, criminal justice, teacher education, engineering and technology, and health science. On undergraduate programs, the UDM has College of Law and Institution for Graduate and Professional Studies. And on technical vocational education and training, we have Center for Micro-credentialing and Industry Training. UDM is well known for being number one in criminology in NCR. The school can produce top notchers in the licensure examination, and the professors here are so great in teaching criminology subjects. The professors here are so great because they produce top notchers in the licensure examination. Let's now proceed to the history of UDM. Manila City Ordinance or MCQ number 7895. It is an ordinance authorizing the city government of Manila to establish and operate the dalubhasaan ng Manila or City College of Manila, and for such other purposes. It was approved by Mayor Alfredo Lim. The then City College of Manila was originally located at the 15th-story old PNB building in Escolta Street in Binondo. Sometime in 2003, the university established the downtown campus, which is the UDM Annex, along the Carlos Palanca Street in Santa Cruz. And on June 26 of 2006, Mayor Lito Atienza approved the MCQ number 8120, which is renamed the City College of Manila to Universidad de Manila. So the name Universidad de Manila was approved by Mayor Lito Atienza. And a UDM was also transferred from Binondo to its current location, Cecilia Munoz Street. It is along the corner of Antonio J. Villegas Street in Mehan Gardens and Ermita. This is near the central station of LRT. On its 25th founding anniversary, Universidad de Manila was granted fiscal autonomy by the virtue of MCO number 8635. This ordinance was approved by our current Mayor Francisco Isko Moreno Domagoso on April 27, 2020. The ordinance states that the university shall be treated as an independent and institutional department of the City of Manila, wherein the management of fiscal, human resources, and other assets shall be within its control. And for more than 20 years, UDM has remained committed to providing free quality education to the city's less privileged but intellectually deserving scholars. In return, UDM students and alumni have been consistent in upholding their academic excellence as well as in achieving a positive impact in the lives of people they inspire and serve in whatever field of endeavor they wish to pursue. With its continuous progress and development, the Universidad de Manila community is confident of broadening its horizons towards producing globally competitive graduates, faculty, and staff. That's all po. Thank you.
Good day, everyone. Good day, classmates, especially to our professor, Dr. Patarata. So, my report is all about school rituals, traditions, and ceremonies. So, let me first define school rituals. So, school rituals are a very powerful means to both create and perpetuate school culture. So, they help distinguish our community from others and imprint students for years to come. So, school leaders are well served to shape rituals that not only energize students and faculty, but they also reinforce our best selves or the best versions of the students. And aside from that, class rituals are very different because they create community. And when we use or when we have effective rituals, it builds an inclusivity to the culture and safety and belongings of the students and also giving them identity. The first group meeting of the day is a very good time for rituals that promote each child's self-esteem and feeling of belongings. And the examples are hugging a circle neighbor hello. So we have to promote a ritual for students to get to know each other, especially to their classmates. To sing songs that include the children's names so that they can know each other better. Selecting a special classroom helper job for each child so that they could know their responsibilities as students, and showing and discussing something that the child has made. So these things that I've mentioned are very important rituals in building the bond and the socialization between the students so that they can know each other better and also they can have a sense of responsibility inside the classroom. As what I've said earlier, knowing and letting the students know their responsibilities is a very important task. So, another ritual that is very important is for us to assign responsibilities to the students. So, this means that all of them need to have several tasks by the end of the week, like assignments, homeworks, projects that we can give them, and they should all feel very happy and proud about it, because by assigning roles and responsibilities or tasks that are given to them in the classroom, we give them an added sense of ownership or responsibility, and it can also increase their creativity. Another specific example of a school ritual is that when students cannot leave class to eat or to go to the canteen, especially if it's not yet the time to have lunch break or recess. And the messages that these rituals is sending is to plan ahead and always be prepared for class. And the underlying values of this type of ritual is that we students should have respect for class time, and the outcome when students learn from this kind of ritual is that they learn to become much more responsible in maintaining their time and respecting their teachers, and especially the time in their classroom. So another thing that we should also remember about school rituals is that these are the procedures or routines that are infused with deeper meaning. So they help make our common experiences uncommon events, especially in school, because every school has hundreds of routines, from the taking of attendance in the morning to the exiting procedures used in the afternoon. But when these routine events connect were connected to a school's missions and values, they summon spirit and they also reinforce cultural ties. Another school ritual that is very common and should be practiced not only in the classroom but also outside of the classroom are the greetings or the good mornings. So the examples of greetings are hello, you look so friendly today. Hello, Karen, good to see you. Hey there, Thomas, are you all ready to play? So through those morning rituals or through those greeting rituals, we can communicate with them, or we can imply to them that communication is a key to building friendship and bond with someone. It means that we are inclusive of the people around us, we value and include them, and it is also considered good manners to greet each person by name and with respect. And also, it promotes good manners because we should teach students on how to respect elders, and not only elders but the people around them, so that the people around them could feel comfortable. So let me tell you all about the importance of rituals not only in the school but also in the classroom. It is very important because including a variety of rituals and routines in our program or in our lesson can help make children feel safe, secure, and ready to learn. And one of the most important features of rituals is that they do not only mark time, they create time, and they also give development when it comes to social phases, ritual structures, and social worlds on how children should understand time, relationship, and change. So let us now move on to the second part of my report, which is all about school traditions. So school traditions are very special and unique to each and every one. And the goal of school traditions is to build a community among students and staff. So, traditions in general and in schools are events that have a special history and meaning that occur in a year in and a year out. So, in schools, traditions are a part of the history and they are part of the school culture and symbolizes it so that we can have certain events to celebrate and they carry meaning. Each celebrations and traditions create meaning because when people or when students or when a certain school have traditions that they value and appreciate, it gives them a foundation to weather all the challenges, difficulties, and change. So that is the importance of having school traditions. So the traditions in schools that we are very much familiar about are the morning greetings, the hallway greetings, which makes the morning transition safe and pleasant. The rise and shine morning assembly that we used to do every morning. I still remember when I was in elementary. And the morning sing when we have the assembly early morning and we sing Lupang Hinirang and we recite the Panatang Makabayan and we also sing the Awit ng Maynila. And those are the traditions that examples of traditions that we are familiar about. So now let us move on to the school ceremonies. So school ceremonies are the culmination of education for the high school student. The commencement ceremony, graduation, it's also a major event and transition point for students, parents, and teachers. And it is a time for students, parents, and teachers to celebrate their hard work and accomplishments. So here are some of the ceremonies that we know about. These are the Buwan ng Wika, which is the National Language Month, the Nutrition Month, which celebrates the importance of having a healthy body and sound mind, the Student Council elections, and the Book Week celebration every November. In some schools, they actually have Holy Catholic Mass celebrations, Teachers' Day, educational trips, and field day. So those are just some of the examples of some of the celebrations and the ceremonies that the schools are always having. Knowing all about the school rituals and being familiar all about it is very important because ceremonies are very complex and they are culturally sanctioned in a way that it means that the school celebrates success and communicates its values, recognizes special contributions of staffs and also the students. And successful ceremonies are designed carefully and arranged to communicate values, celebrate core accomplishments, and build a tight sense of community around the school.
Good day everyone, I am Lawrence Beltrano and today I will be discussing about the symbols. First, let us define what is symbols. Symbols are images that represent words or concepts and help pupils visualize the meanings of words. Sometimes it is hard to remember the meaning of new and difficult vocabulary, and with symbols, the pupil can be sure they are using the right word. They support pupils at many different levels. The simplest levels, symbols are used to enable communication and choice by pointing to the one you want, by signposting the environment such as by labeling rooms, cupboards, and drawers. The pupils is given help to be more independent. Symbol used to support vocabulary can help with learning new words and can separate understanding of concepts from decoding spelling. Most importantly, They can help pupils by increasing their independence and building their self-esteem. The following gives more specific detail on the use of symbols. This includes helps to signpost the environment, aid communication and participation, understand routines and systems, support new and unknown vocabulary, support teaching of concepts, access the curriculum through differentiated materials, enable pupils to explain their understanding of a concept or ideas, support writing and recording, and lastly, improve the behavior of motivation and engagement. Signposting the school environment makes pupils and visitors feel safe and more comfortable. A communication-friendly environment is one where everyone feels secure enough to listen, understand, and express themselves. Learners can develop their social, emotional, and academic potential by the reduction and removal of barriers to communication. There is an accessible learning environment for everyone. Symbols can be used to label resources and equipment to show who works where and provide visual aids to signpost people around the school. Making symbols part of the environment helps students who need extra support and increases their feelings of inclusion. Schools that use symbols as a natural part of environment have found that many more people noticed signs and there have been no negative comments from parents. Aiding communication and participation. Pupils with communication difficulties use symbols to participate. The symbols help staff understand the pupil needs and anxieties. These communication cards were made for a specific child to help him express needs and views. Activity cards for choosing time support children's understanding of the choices available to them. Reminders and advice cards increase the independence. A child can put a bookmark in an obvious place to request help without having to ask out loud. Demographic, technological, and economic forces are transforming societal institutions and the way in which people interact within them. Major challenges of 21st century education include adjusting to these shifts and instructing schools to improve human interaction and learning. One important way to shape school is through their cultural symbols. What is cultural symbols? Schools are social organizations comprised of people with a set of shared beliefs, complex rituals, and relationships, and collective verbal behaviors. Symbols are key in understanding these shared meanings, values, and behaviors because they are expressions of how people interact and conduct business from day to day. A school culture can be defined simply as the way things are done around here, according to Deal and Kennedy in 1982. And these things are done through such symbols as stories, heroes and heroines, myths and metaphors, rituals and ceremonies, facility decor, and special language of jargon.
Good day everyone, I am Nicole Fajardo from ED31 and I'm going to report about contrive collegiate. So let me define first the word contrive. So it means created or arranged in a way that seems artificial and unrealistic. Hargreaves 1994 identifies the primary 5 cultures of true collaboration that most teachers fit into when working with colleagues. Let us now discuss the meaning of contrived collegiality. So, contrived collegiality consists of administratively contrived interactions among teachers where they meet and work to implement the curricula, instructional strategies developed by others. The six features of contrived collegiality are identified. First, administratively regulated. Second, compulsory. Implementary oriented, fixed in space and time, and lastly, predictable. Instead of being initiated by teachers in a spontaneous manner, administrators create the opportunities through fixed time frames and scheduled planning and mentoring. Contrived collegiality is also a form of teacher culture in which the schools and external authorities impose their ideas to schools. As an example of contrived collegiality can be set of activities such as seminars, coaching, group works in which teachers are engaged. When put into action, contrived collegiality often plans out a teacher's preparation time, takes away often used to prepare items for their own classes, and forces mentoring, team teaching, or peer coaching. When these concepts are forced and planned out, there is a sense of predictability in the procedures and expectations, but a stifling of professional judgment and creativity. There is a lack of flexibility in creating and developing programs or curriculum since everything is pre-scheduled and the desired outcome has been determined. Unlike the concepts of true collaboration, where the outcomes are unpredictable. That's all. Thank you.
Good day, everyone. My name is Angeline Salonga, and I'm here to talk about the culture candies. So I was asked to discuss about the culture can be toxic and culture can be fragmented. So I will be discuss first the culture can be toxic. So can a culture really be a toxic? So when I ask myself that question, the first thing that comes up into my mind is that culture can always be toxic as long as it is not healthy to combine in and or to be with. If there are no good effects to be in or with other people or individual, it is already a toxic culture. A toxic culture is one where the workplace is plagued by fighting, drama, and unhappy employees to the point that productivity and the well-being of the people in the office is affected. Below, we will discuss the 10 major signs to look out for in your workplace. So how do you know if you're already in a toxic environment? So a toxic environment can be defined as any setting where the atmosphere negatively impacts individual and causes the disruption to their career growth. If you are in a toxic environment, it is essential to identify it early on so you can take a proper step to mitigate any damage it may cause to your mental health or social development. So here are the 10 signs that your workplace might be toxic. One is your input isn't valued. The first sign that your workplace is toxic is that when you speak up, managers, co-workers, or other supervisors are not listening to you. Employees that deals with problems day to day are reliable source to coming up with solutions. So if your input is not being treated right or as valuable as it is a sign that your management doesn't prioritize their employees. Companies invest in people as much as they do any other assets. And by dismissing the input of the team members, they are wasting time or they are wasting priceless information. An organization that doesn't value its employee will allow a toxic environment to flourish. The second one is the gossip and rumors run rampant. If your office often feels more like the gossip field halls of high school than a professional workplace, this is a definite sign of toxic behaviors. So rampant rumors spreading and gossiping indicates a leadership team that is indifferent to the well-being and privacy of their employees. These behaviors are immature and unacceptable. Third is bullying. In a whole workplace, bullying can take forms that don't always look how it is typically portrayed. Although bullying can include overt verbal or physical abuse, it can also take covert forms such as nonverbal or psychological abuse. Enduring these abuses can be very harmful to an employee's health and well-being and should never be tolerated in any environment. Toxic environments breed an atmosphere that permits bullies to prosper because they allow bullying behavior to go unchecked. Number 4 is unfair policies and unequal enforcement. Rules that seem have no basis or rules that only applies selectively to certain employees usually mean that management plays favorites. Environments that don't set the same standard of conduct for everyone enable some team members to exercise special privilege that are not accessible to others. Privilege could take many forms, from excusing tardiness to inappropriate behaviors to more serious misconduct. Number 5 is narcissistic leadership. Leaders that exhibit narcissistic tendencies are far from an anomaly, unfortunately. These tendencies can manifest themselves in self-interest, lack of empathy, lack of self-awareness, or any of the behaviors included on the list. It can be difficult to the reason or even coexist with narcissists, resulting in high turnover due to employees' inability to cope with this type of leaders. So, number 6 is communication issues and lack of transparency. Transparency has been a big buzzword recently and for good reason. Communication and honesty are essential for organizations to maintain the mutual trust that is necessary for a successful workplace environment. When these core elements are missing, a team is operating as separate, disjointed pieces rather than a cohesive unit. Number 7 is lack of work-life balance. The importance of work-life balance has increased throughout the COVID-19 pandemic and is more significant than ever now that some workers may be going back into the office instead of working from home. As the value of work-life balance rises, the awareness of having a poor balance becomes more apparent. In this climate, it is intolerable to work for a company that requires employees to sacrifice their well-being for the sake of their job. A company that doesn't allow employees to have a work-life balance is guilty of enforcing a toxic environment. Number 8 is the low moral. Low moral is low moral, although we are all in a company that doesn't allow employees to have a work-life balance is guilty of enforcing a toxic environment. Number 8 is the low moral. Low moral is low moral, although we are all entitled to be in a slump at times during a particular stressful work week. Organizations that maintain low morale among their team members long term are usually also maintaining a toxic environment. Low morale tends to occur when employees do not feel financially or professionally valued. Sometimes they feel disconnected from their team, work under the poor leadership, suffer abuse or harassment at work. So number 9 is not having enough people to do the work and high levels of burnout. Burnout is usually a symptom of lack of work-life balance, which can happen when companies refuse to hire new members and instead force extra workload on their existing employees. This scenario became prevalent during the pandemic as companies have been forced to lay off workers but must still maintain the same level of productivity. So forcing team members to make up for work that should be done by another worker diminishes their work-life balance, and it can quickly lead to burnout. High levels of burnout always indicate the presence of toxic work environment. Number 10 is lack of empathy and compassion from leadership. It's putting work deadlines first over your emotional well-being. Leaders that exhibit a lack of empathy or compassion are usually also narcissists, which prevent them from prioritizing their employees. These types of leaders will often require that their team members designated work as a top priority, diminishing the ability for them to achieve work-life balance. And it is also a possibly resulting in burnout. Any leader that forces employees to choose between their job and their health is poisoning their work environment. So these are the 5 tips of how you will handle a toxic work environment. One is to find people who you feel the same way you do. It is okay that you have same people that feel the same way as you do, because you need someone to motivate you to go or to still go to work if you don't, or if you already lose hope in your toxic environment in your workplace. Number 2 is do something after work that can help you relieve stress. Go to the gym, done home repairs, or learn a new skills. The key is to make sure you're living a fulfilling life outside of work, of combat the drama of your 9 to 5 hours a day. Number 3 is create lists to keep yourself busy. A list can help you to stay focused on your task instead of the toxic atmosphere or toxic environment that gives you a reason to, and that is the thing that gives you a reason to keep going every day. Number 4 is document everything that you do. So save emails and write down comments and decisions from meetings, phone calls, and every day or every person who interacts with you. If you need a file of if you need a file of complaint, you will need the evidence to back your claim. Number 5 is start your exit strategy. It is possible that things could improve at your job, in which case it might make sense to stay. However, while waiting it out, begin your search for a new job. This will help you stay positive when things get rough. If you needed to leave yesterday, consider a bridge job that will keep you active while you find something in line with your career. Culture can be fragmented. So, let's talk about first the fragment. Fragmented from the word itself, fragment, is most generally means that process of fragmenting or breaking into pieces or dividing into parts. It can also refer to state or result of being broken up or having been divided. So how are we going to connect the fragments into culture? Because culture can be defined as all the ways of life, including arts, beliefs, and institutions of population that are passed down from generation to generation. Culture has been called the way of life for an entire society. As such, it includes codes of manners, dress, language, religions, rituals, and so on and so forth. So, the concept of cultural fragmentation implies the disintegration of singular cultures and formation of numerous diverse cultures, be they associated with particular ethnicities, religions, concept of nationhoods, or people groups, or those associated with particular forms of lives, values, or different beliefs or commodifications. The fragmentations refer to the absence of underdevelopment of connections between a society and the groupings of certain of its members. So that's all. The next slide or the next report will be discussed by Ferilyn Arcangel. Thank you.
Good day everyone, my name is Ferilyn Arcangel and I am here to discuss what is culture can be. So first, culture can be comfortable. Culture can be states that comfortable conditions and nourishes man's social and professional efficiency. For example, a foreigner came to the Philippines to experience our culture. As we all know, Filipinos are one of the welcoming person in the world. We are hospitable to our guests and we make them feel safe and comfortable during their stay in the Philippines or in our country. So next, culture can be collaboration. Culture can be collaboration. States that collaboration doesn't just occur if someone happens to initiate it. Instead, it's baked into process of how people do their work every day and into the attitude they take about that work. Filipinos are known in doing bayanihan. We help people even though we can't or we don't have enough money or time. We just always show our efforts to help other people for them to feel that somebody's or someone is there for them. So here is the very interesting facts about culture. Culture is derived from the Latin word cultura, which means growth and cultivation. That's all. Thank you.